welcome everyone to the regular meeting of the Maritime Advisory Board of the City of Annapolis, our regular November meeting. As is my practice, I just go around my screen in the order it's on my screen and introduce everyone. We have Alan Miller, who's a member of the board. We have Beth Bellis, our harbor master. We have Andy Fagley, member of the board. Peter Trogdon, member of the board. Duncan Hood, member of the board. Mike Tomasini, member of the board. Stephen Rice from the City of Annapolis, Department of Planning and Zoning, one of our staff. We have Frida Wildy, a member of the board. We have Madeline, I think it's Harrell, from the City of Annapolis TV. And we have Kimberly Consoli, our reporter. So with that, let's get started. I do want to bring up something many of you may have seen in the paper earlier this week, that former harbor master Rick Dahlgren passed away. Rick, I think, came in around 1987, 88. I think he was the assistant harbor master to start with, but he was the harbor master when this board came into creation. And I have to say, it was a delight to work with. I think most of us knew him at one point or another. Notably, Rick was harbor master when we went through all of the major bulkhead renovations downtown, and also was instrumental in getting started on some of the upgrades to the street ends parks, particularly some of the floating docks and that which we undertook in the mid-aughts, 2003, 4, 5 timeframe. But I think it'd just be appropriate if we take a few minutes and each individually reflect on how we knew Rick and say a few silent prayers. We'll take a minute, 30 seconds or so to do so, and then we'll pick up where we regularly start.
Well, I worked with Rick a bunch in doing electrical stuff for the harbor master's office, and he was great to work with. And he had a boat and he had a girlfriend, and we socialized together back in the day, and it was nothing but a good time.
Rita, I think you met him coming here with you told me with the Volvo, is that right?
Right. I moved to Annapolis. I was working on the Whitbread and Volvo race stopovers, and he was wonderful. He was so kind and generous, and he introduced me to a lot of people that I needed to know, and told me to stay away from the ones I needed to stay away from. And he was just a fantastic person, and we could not have done the stopovers without him. I did a lot of logistics, and he would tell me what power needs we should have, and water, and he was just great. I loved him to death, and he was wonderful. He'll be missed. He was a kind person. Thank you, Terry.
You're welcome. And for those of you that have ever, ironically, and this was something I learned. I think I had heard it before, but I only learned it out of the paper. But Dahlgren Hall at the Naval Academy is named for I believe it was his grandfather, and John Adolphus Dahlgren was an advisor to Lincoln during the Civil War. And also the Dahlgren gun was developed, and so that there was a personal link to the academy with Rick too. So anyway, he will be missed. He was he did a great job as harbor master for 20 some years. All right, with that, there was one small change I had to the minutes that, and I think Kimberly recirculated them. So is there a motion to adopt the minutes as amended?
You got me.
Duncan and Mike?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the minutes from October 2021 are adopted. 2022 are adopted. 2021 already was. Andy, anything groundbreaking, earth-shaking from the county board? You're on mute.
Amazingly not. I made great efforts to get to the meeting. I went to all 4 of those buildings in that
Oh no.
compound talked to every security guard in the place and never found them and got really run around. I mean, but I got back and I texted, I emailed Cheney and got the minutes from the meetings. The minutes make our minutes look like a tome. They are brief and they didn't have much to say. An aside is that they were referencing, this is not what we had been talking about before, but they're referencing a bill that was Sarah Elfreth has proposed to allow marinas to somebody else will be able to speak to this, but to take possession of a boat within 90 days, 60 days of lack of payment / communication with an owner. I know that the process has been quite drawn out in the past for abandoned boats is what it's getting at. Has been quite drawn out in the past, but that seems like a pretty short timeline to me. I don't know if anyone else knows anything about it. I bet the harbor master may. And Beth, if you know more, please let me know what you know. But that seemed like a knee-jerk reaction to what's obviously a not great situation, in that I think it takes at least almost a year to get a title to a boat from the time that it's been no one's been paying attention to it. So beyond that, their meeting didn't have a lot to say.
So this is the first I'm hearing of this, Andy.
Yes.
So I would love to hear you recap. I think you said 60 days in a private marina, that the marina owner could get title to the boat. Can you just recap that really quick? Because I want to make sure I understood you.
I don't know whether I've got, let me look up I've got the minutes of the meeting right here. Give me a minute. You guys proceed.
When you pull that up, can you give me can you give us the reference to the bill, the House bill?
Yeah, I don't think it's been passed.
While you're looking that up, there is already on the books, and in fact, I've used it on behalf of clients. Just like if you take your car in to be repaired in a car dealership and don't pay the bill, they have a possessory lien on your car, and they can actually, after they advertise and give notice to the to any insurance, any lender that's on the title, they can actually auction the boat, and it goes to the highest bidder. And if there's more money than is necessary to cover the bill and the cost of the auction, they can remit it to the owner or pay off the lien first.
And
so,
what's the time frame that you knew of?
I don't remember that whether it had to be an unpaid. It's not a very long time frame. That's why I would be curious what this bill does that is different.
It's one long paragraph. I'll read it to you.
Okay.
The board discussed the process of having an abandoned vessel removed from a marina. Kirk mentioned that Sarah Elfreth passed legislation that allows marina owners to submit an abandoned boat application on a commercial property after 60 days without a lien, once the property owner has notified the last known title holders. I think they must mean was notified of the vessel. The application can be submitted. If you have an issue with the DNR and this process, Dirk suggests you reach out to Sarah Elfreth's office for assistance. So that's not much of a description, but it's a bit of a description. And it's in their minutes, which are fairly easily obtained.
Is there an HB number associated with House bill number?
It does not say.
Okay.
So they talked about that. They talked about dredging. They talked about maritime zoning and update for pools and marinas with pools, which seemed to have not much to do with us. So that was all they talked about.
All right. Thank you. The me find my minutes. All right. Stephen, anything new on the economic development side, including the fee for Maritime?
Drop in just for a sec.
Oh, I'm sorry, Duncan, you have a question?
Drop in just for a sec. This is really similar to a conversation we had with Beth and senior moment, probably last spring, the 90 days versus 60 days thing. Has Sarah submitted this or has it been passed, Andy? What did it say exactly?
It said that it was passed legislation, is what it says, that allows marina owner operators to submit an abandoned boat application on a commercial property after 60 days without a lien. And a lien is what I always thought was the first step.
Yeah,
Right.
really. Yeah.
So
Okay.
it sounds like it's two things. It's shortening the time frame and it's removing the requirement of a lien.
Yeah.
And an auction, you just haul it off. That's a little more draconian than I would
Yeah.
want to have happen, particularly we have a mobile population that can be gone off somewhere for a couple of months at a time, like Mr. Trogdon's going away for the winter. Or Andy's going away, but I'll see if I can't track down that bill and get a little more information on it and see where that stands.
We got two hands up right now.
Okay, what other hand up?
So Terry,
Yes.
it's Senate Bill 0219.
Senate bill, okay,
Yeah, because she's a senator.
right,
And it was enacted under Article 2, Section 17C of the Maryland Constitution. And it looks like it's the effective date is July 1st, 2020. And the cross-filed number is House Bill 0143. So I haven't read this thoroughly enough to know if it's in effect now. You know, it says effective date, July 1st, 2020, but with COVID, who knows what actually got passed or not.
right. Well, I'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting and we'll just take a look and see. It hasn't, Beth, you've got your hand up also. Has it come up in any context that you're aware of? I think you said you weren't aware of the bill, so it doesn't sound like it's been anything that's been a hot button within the city of Annapolis, at least.
I mean, I would say this is the first I've heard of it, but I would say that I have spoken to many marina owners that have paid thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars for people that have abandoned their boats. And I do respect Senator Alfred's efforts to try to mitigate that. So I would love to, I need to read it. I need to read exactly what it says. But what I think that I heard is if your boat is at our property for more than 60 days without permission and without payment, then they can remove it. That's what I think I heard. And I also heard some rumblings of folks that were saying like maybe you could get a mechanic lien. And there are many people that believe that it can be similar to seizing a vehicle. And I would caution the group that that is not so. Most of these folks that don't pay and are in a marina, they don't have any value. So for me to remove a 30+ foot boat from a marina, I can't. Those are not saleable. So those might cost $5,000 or $6,000 to remove them, haul them out, and destroy them. So it's a bit different, and a lot of folks think that it's similar to a vehicle, and it's not. So I'd love to discuss this further, and I would love to read the fine print. I'd love to understand exactly what's here. This is my first of hearing this.
All right, well, we'll take it up at the next meeting and see if we can't take a look at the boat lien statute as well as this and see where they overlap or don't overlap them, what one does and one doesn't do. Anybody else have any question or input on that topic?
No, but Terry, I do remember Sarah Elfreth came to present to us when she was going through the process on this. It was at the time that that tenant had been evicted in the South River with multiple boats and
Right.
then attempted to abandon them in multiple different locations. And one of them was sinking off of Bay Ridge and another one off of Greenberry Point. I think this is the same bill that we discussed back then. I'm just not sure if it passed with a certain number of amendments or adjustments to the time frame. So that's the bill that's mentioned, and I remember her presenting it to us in the Maritime Advisory
I remember
Board.
that situation, but from what Andy was saying, the summary was, and that's why I want to take a look at it.
Yep.
This would have taken place before the boats even left the marina. So we'll just take a look at it and see. I don't think we have enough information to
Right.
get a copy of it in front of us. And I don't want to speculate on it with anybody that might be listening or watches this later on, that there's something going on out there that until we're
Or
sure.
in what form it got passed and which parts of it are enforceable.
Right. All right, anybody else? All right, so hearing nothing. Now, Stephen, back to you.
Sure, thank you. On the economic development front, the seasonal parklet program came to an end on November 1st, but the pilot parking lot dining program is going to continue until April 24th. Recently, the administration has decided to make some parking vouchers available, given some of the parking angst downtown to downtown businesses. So, we were actively making sure that they got distributed. Also, the economic gardening program that we have been running, I think, since August of this year is coming to an end. We have 6 maritime businesses that are participating, and the final reports are being given. And we're going to do, of course, a post-program assessment, and we'll report back on our findings. But we're pretty excited so far. On the statistical front, we have 11 new, expanding, or relocating businesses in the city since September, and our vacancy rate is about 5.8%. Terry, you mentioned the essentially R5422, which is the non-maritime use fee that did pass the city council, and it was adopted on October 24th. And if there are any questions about that, of course, I'm glad Eric Lashinsky is here and he can answer them. Also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can I just say for the record that, at the last meeting, we had heard comments about trying to clarify that resolution so it was more specific to address a fee for water access incentives, and we were able to get that change into the resolution. So what got adopted reflects the change that was requested by the board.
Thank you. Yeah, you did an excellent job last time on dispelling some of the angst that people have had, and that was very helpful. And so I think, if the council went along with that clarification, that'll just, I think that'll put that to rest. And we can, and I think, doesn't it just, from here on out, it will just come up as part of the fee schedule in the annual budget?
That's right.
Okay. All right, anything else, Stephen?
Last thing I'll say is that, of course, we're gearing up for Small Business Saturday, Midnight Madness, and also there will be a holiday market this year. And it'll be at City Dock, and that should be pretty neat. So we'll see if it becomes an annual event, but there's a lot happening in short order.
When's the holiday market?
Let me circle back. The date just slipped me, but I'll make sure that I'll email it to you so you can distribute it amongst the group.
Okay, great. I appreciate it. I guess the next item is.
Hold on, Terry, one sec. I have a question for Stephen.
Yeah.
Stephen, what are the city's plans for Small Business Saturday? Because I got my package from American Express today on the EBA side, and I'd like to possibly coordinate whatever's going on downtown.
Yeah, let me circle back. I have a couple of things that we're looking at, but I want to coordinate, of course, with the important people and get the necessary approvals. But I'll circle back soon.
Yes, Peter, or Scott, sorry.
Yes. Thanks, Stephen. I think those are great ideas. Are the list of your ideas and the initiatives from your office, are they on the Annapolis website, City of Annapolis website? So people that don't see what we're seeing here can get access and hear about these things. I think they're great.
Yeah, we have some of our information on the city website. It really, we probably could do a better job with that, but the Visit Annapolis website and Visit Annapolis in Anne Arundel County, that's a great resource for, a comprehensive list of activities and events. Downtown Annapolis Partnership, that website, has the information as well. So those are probably more comprehensive and more robust with respect to making sure that information is displayed. But I'll look into seeing if we can beef up what we're putting out. Most of what is on the city website is stuff that you might find on the mayor's page, or that stuff that's specifically put out via press release from our communications team. So, Stephen, would it make sense then, and this is kind of a shorthand way and a time-saving way, is on the city website, wherever some of this information might be, that you simply put a link to those other sites and say, for more information, click here. Yeah, I'll definitely look into that, because we definitely don't want to duplicate efforts that are more robust than our own. Right.
Yeah, I'm just thinking you're a startup business, or you're looking from the outside of Annapolis to come to Annapolis, just sort of toot your horn more, but I just didn't know what there is. I should look myself, but I think it's a great idea, and for a prospective business coming to Annapolis, having resources, all the resources you can get to recruit them.
Eric, anybody else on that topic? While we have you, Eric, where are we on the comprehensive plan?
Just basically plugging away on it. I'm trying to get this draft done by the end of the year, so I've actually blocked out my Mondays and Fridays for that. Just trying to make headway on it. Nothing really new to report, but it's just there's an increasing number of things happening at the city that want to refer back to the comp plan. So I feel like the pressure is building just to kind of get this thing done.
Hey, Eric.
Yeah.
Would you just keep me in the loop on that? I'm the one who's supposed to be reporting to this committee,
Sure.
and I'm always going crickets.
I'm happy to do that.
Thanks, man.
And I'm only saying this sort of half facetiously. If we get into another election cycle, then the emphasis on the comprehensive plan will change, and you will start over again.
Oh yeah. We really need to wrap this up.
I've been on 2 comprehensive plan committees, and they are somewhat administration driven, to say the least. So to get it accomplished during a single administration is probably a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And public water access.
Yeah, I could speak to that. We're about 50% through the public water access plan. We have a focus group tomorrow with various folks. And we basically are working in 2 directions. One, we're working on a dedicated website that will have like a consolidated amount of information about all of our existing water access sites, where to go to do certain activities, basically helping to steer people to sites, make them more clear and visible. It's kind of a prelude to actually having better signage on the ground, which is really a big need. And we're going to be applying for a grant for that through the National Park Service has a new grant program. I feel like fact that we're working with them on this plan helps us kind of tease us up for that grant program. The signage is really a huge, huge priority. But the other thing that we're working on is just kind of we're moving towards a final plan document that would be more of a strategic document. The website is more public facing. It's more for the basically residents and visitors to the city to actually know what's available and where to find it. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's some paddle trails identified as well. It's sort of surprising that we don't have that kind of.
I take it it would not, the website would not include links to or contact information for private water access of businesses. Mike, for example, I mean, this is a water access program, but it's obviously a private water access program.
That's an excellent point, Terry. I mean, right now it was not focusing on those types of resources, but I think there could be a good tie-in there. I mean, I don't, it's not like, I don't know how to do it. I haven't really put any thought to it, but it's the kind of thing that maybe it's the kind of tool that can steer people to a comprehensive listing of.
Or at least, there's two categories: those that want to be a self-guided tour, and those that want to have a guided tour. I mean, I'm using that in just a kind of a broad context, but there certainly are certainly water access private businesses, a la Mike, a la Woodland, a la Wilma Lee, et cetera, that all get people get access to the water in one way or another. But I can appreciate that becomes a little tricky as to who gets included and who isn't included, and then you're marketing, the city's marketing private businesses, but that's not bad either sometimes. So anyway, I just threw that out. I don't have I'll just for thought.
It's an excellent point. We'll put some thought into it and see if there's a way to do that. That sort of makes sense.
All right. Any other questions for Eric on this or anything else? Because I think I'm at the end of actually I guess I need to start consolidating these things. Let's circle back with Stephen for a minute. The task force annual reports.
Yes.
Update.
We are in a position now where we're sending out the request for information. We've identified, I believe, the properties that would qualify or potentially qualify, and we're sending that information out post haste. The request for that information.
It'll be interesting, the results, to say the least. Although it may be a little early, but it'll be about a full year, so it'll be interesting to see what that reveals. I don't know why I left the VHF radio check on here, other than as a reminder that it'd be nice to get it done, but I don't think there's any change.
You're right, no change. Andy and I keep saying we're gonna get together, and I gotta be honest, I drive right past his shop every day going, man, I gotta talk to Andy.
Well, if he just said he's leaving, you're going to have to get on a plane and go meet him in the Bahamas.
I could do that.
There's nothing in our budget for that, though, so you'll have to be on your own.
Darn it.
I have not gotten any. Well, yes, I have a little bit. I've not gotten anybody that nobody has contacted me about wanting to help coordinate a potential Maritime Hall of Fame, although I did have a follow-up meeting with Eric Rubin, and Annapolis Maritime Museum continues to have a small component of that. And I had gotten a call from from Dan Roche at across the way, who happened to be listening to our conversation about it, and indicated that he might have some space, but I think a separate freestanding Maritime Hall of Fame right next to the Annapolis Maritime Museum, maybe there's some symbiotic relationship there, but it would seem to me that they're almost better off, under the same roof, or finding, a more robust location. But that's percolating, but it hasn't come to a boil yet.
Terry,
Yes.
is there, just to throw it out there, do you feel like there's any real desire in general for people to have a maritime museum or a Hall of Fame?
The topic was brought up by former Mayor Ellen Moyer, who asked me to breakfast, and we had breakfast in Eastport one day, about 6 weeks ago. And she was interested in seeing if we can get, if the board, and I told her point blank that I did not have the time to help spearhead it. So that's why I put it out to the members of the board. But to develop a Maryland Hall of Fame, not a sailing Hall of Fame, not a powerboat Hall of Fame, but to sort of recognize, well-known contributors to the maritime, across the maritime spectrum in Maryland, and that would be everything from boat builders to crabbers to yachtsmen to powerboaters to fishing, whatever. And I told her, I said, I think conceptually, I think that's a great idea. We have a lot of people who are very recognizable within Maryland, and it could be recognized. As usual, the issue is how you're going to fund it. Where's it going to be? And it's kind of a chicken and the egg. If you have a robust amount of funding and a location and a marketing budget, you can get it off the ground. If you don't, and it's just tucked away in a corner somewhere, it's not going to get much traction and not be very self-supporting, which is why I've thought, at least all along, that it ought to perhaps be an adjunct or a component of the Annapolis Maritime Museum. And in talking with Eric Rubin, he indicated, and he actually sent me some pictures, which I think I shared with the board, where they had several people recognized in the Maritime Museum along those lines. So again, if there's one of you want to, or if you know somebody outside the board that want to step up and work with Ellen and others on seeing what can be put together, certainly let me know, and I'll put everybody in touch.
Yeah.
But that's that's just kind of what it is right now. Yes, Alan.
Oh, sorry, took me a second to find the button. Willing to help out. I did a military Hall of Fame at Fort Bragg, and it went along these same lines. We could never find funding. And then basically what we ended up doing, you guys know the signs that you see, the historical signs that are made in bronze.
Yeah.
That become, people like to read those things. We basically took some pretty successful NCOs across 3 wars, and instead of making a Maritime Hall of Fame, if you will, we put up 14 signs, like where they were or in public areas. And instead of it becoming something that was just a building nobody comes to or 5 people come to a day, it became kind of a sign thing, and it kind of contributed to Fort Bragg a little bit, and people read it and people were interested in it because we put it in good places and it kind of added to the community.
Alan,
That's kind of what we did.
That's
exactly the kind of thing I was thinking of. The problem we always have is that these things are great ideas, and then they just die from lack of funding or lack of attendance. The Sailing Hall of Fame we had here was a great example. And I think it's a very cool idea.
Well, the good news is if you actually tie it to a historical, what we did is we actually went to the state and got state historical funds and paid for the emplacements of the signs because it was tied to historical and tourism. But, you know, instead of a building, it was 14 signs and there was 14 NCOs that did great things during the war. They were all killed, regretfully, but they did great things, and the signs were spread out in places where people actually read it. And it added to the community versus, I don't know, I bring it up for discussion. Happy to help if I can.
So Alan, give me a call, when you have a minute in the next, week or so, and let's talk about it further. I may put you in touch with Ellen, and but that also will tie into as they develop City Dock, and the City Dock Action Committee moves forward. Those are the kinds of things that the National Park Service might get interested in. So let you and I talk whenever it's convenient to you. I'm pretty much around through the holidays. But let you and I talk and maybe meet or not, or I can get Ellen together. I think that's an excellent idea.
Will do. I'll give you a holler.
Okay. Anything else on that?
Good, thank you.
All right, let's turn to a little bit of a variety of new business. What I forgot to do, because it was followed so quickly on the heels of it. But I'll start with Peter. Can you give us just a quick update on the boat shows?
Yeah, what do you got, Pete?
You're on mute. You're mute. Unmute. 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 You're on mute. There we go.
There you go, Pete.
Hold on here.
You're good.
Lost the plot. Back
Okay.
on. So attendance was great, right? The weather was good.
You
Both
bet.
shows, great attendance. Exhibitors were very happy, and we're making big plans for next year. So it's done a great program. Yeah.
I noticed that it was a flip of the two shows. Is that just because of Columbus Day weekend, or is that going to be a more permanent switch?
No, it's not going to be permanent that way. It's gonna change from year to year a little bit, depending on how those dates fall. Next year it'll probably be the same as it was this past fall, but we're trying to get we want to get the sailboat show on the Columbus weekend, and we've been surveying the exhibitors as to their thoughts about the Monday. The Monday attendance is not very strong, so we recognize that, and we're talking about what we should do about that.
Okay. Anybody else have any either A, input, or B, questions?
Well, Peter, just keep me in the loop, because I plan my schooner race on your sailboat show.
Thank you, Duncan.
Well, tell us, how did the schooner race go? I saw a little bit of a blur, but while we're on that.
Oh my God. I've just finished the book. I write a book each year. The book was called Hubristic Retribution. And what I mean by that, we started with 4 knots of wind on the nose. We sailed for 38 hours down toward Norfolk. I was 20 minutes ahead of everybody. And then with 12 miles to go, the wind went from 4 knots to 40, right from astern. Boat got flipped over on the sails. Oh, such storm and drang. It was awesome. We had a great time.
And everybody caught up.
Yeah, oh man, including the dreaded schooner woodwind. Ah.
Well, good. It's always
Absolutely. I call it snatch from the
was
jaws.
a bit like watching paint dry, but
Oh my God. I call it snatch from the jaws of victory.
yeah, but it's always a great sight to see that many boats and those boats out on the bay.
Well, we had Hurricane Ian blow through, and we had 32 boats scheduled on that race, and only 16 were able to get to the start line.
Wow.
That's pretty traumatic.
So next item, I had sent, I think hopefully everybody saw the article in the Capitol, and it was about a month, it was maybe 3 weeks ago, about the Seafarers inaugural sailing regatta.
Yeah,
And I talked to, I just happened to run into Bill Woodward, who was a former member of the board and a member of Seafarers, and talked to him about it. And they were very excited about it. They've got one of their members who's interested in, has been spearheaded this one, is interested in doing it again. And they apparently had a great party afterwards. They'd learned about regattas and how to throw a party afterwards. I sent a letter on Maritime Advisory Board letterhead to the Commodore, congratulating them and telling them how nice it was that they had done that and how well received it was. And I invited him to, if he wanted to come tell us about it. I didn't hear back from him. It may well be that knowing A, the mail, and B, I send it to the clubhouse, and who picks up the mail at the clubhouse. But I did reach out to him on behalf of the board to congratulate him.
I'm glad you did. They do great work. That's great.
Beth, just FYI for you, now that we're approaching the end, and we have approached pretty much the end of the charter season, and the things are kind of winding down at City Dock. Last month I collected some information from the board members about to put into something of a questionnaire or something for you, and I haven't sort of put it together yet, but I will, and I just want to give you a heads up to give us some statistics on how it went at the charter dock over the summer, more not anecdotal so much as statistics, because when we were reviewing the charter dock policy last spring, we said we were going to revisit this at the end of the season. And I would going to do so, and to see if there's any, pluses, minuses, tweaks, changes, and your input on that. But I'll defer that. I'll send you I want to get the information before we get into the weeds of any recommendations. So I'll send that over to you. And
Can you hear me, Terry?
yeah, I can hear you.
Because I'm having some technical difficulty. So what I would like to do is share with you our spreadsheet that shows all of our charter activity for 2022.
Okay,
Does that help?
that would be a big help. And then if there's anything we need, we think we might need in addition to that, we can do so. But yes, if you have that already done.
I do. Yeah, I'll just share that with you tomorrow morning.
Okay.
And then if you need more information, it kind of gives all the information, but if you need more, just let me know.
All right, just share it with the board, and then I'll follow up with them. And if we need anything else, we'll let you know.
Okay.
All right, great. That makes it easy.
Sure.
Beth also mentioned, I think it was either Beth or Debbie happened to mention, and this is just FYI, it's not on the agenda, it's really just an FYI, that St. Mary's school is trying to reconstitute a committee for their shoreline project. Beth, you would know probably more than anybody. I don't think there's been any new plans, or they haven't. All I saw was just a blurb saying, yeah, I think they were looking for volunteers, and they want to reconstitute it and rethink it a little bit. So just that may be on that may come back up on our agenda. If anybody hears anything about that, let me know, because the last plan did have some impact on the moorings there in the St. Mary's mooring field. So I don't know if they've changed their approach or not, or will. The other item is that and I mentioned it briefly earlier, the City Dock Action Committee, I had a call from Eileen Fogarty about a week ago. They are, and we had a Zoom meeting with Rod Javen and myself, and who else was there? Mike was there. Who else was there? Mike, Eileen, and the architect for sort of the lead architect for the project. And they talked about the programming, which Beth, I'm sure you know more about, programming for the Burris House and and a harbor and another facility, not a harbor master office, but a facility next to the Burris House. in terms of heads and showers and, you know, trying to do some programming as to what might go in that building. And I think it was a good discussion, Mike. You know, I don't know if you have any thoughts on it, but I thought it was a good discussion. The good news I took, one of the good things I took from it, I think, is that the architect actually is a boater and was able to understand things like the word head and the need for showers and things like that. So he was attuned to the visiting boater needs somewhat. Anything else, Mike?
No, I thought it was a great discussion. And in addition, the architect seemed to really take into account the advice of higher level maritime skilled persons like Rod, who, you know, had some real insight on addition of floating docks and marine bathrooms and heads. And you know, he's been running a marina for a long time, and that seemed to really resonate with the architect. Took everything in and said, oh, yeah, right, we've got to figure out a way to incorporate those, which was great. So.
And the other thing that we stressed and Rob brought up and we've talked about and I've stressed with Eileen before, and that is we need to at least get the underground infrastructure in for pump out facility at City Dock. I mean, we've got the no discharge zone, we've got commercial vessels coming and going. We can't go without some type of a pump out facility and a reasonable capacity facility at City Dock. He understood that and understood why it's important that we get it in while we have the City Dock torn up and not wait and then pull the grass back up and say, oops, we forgot it. So I think that's going to get that will be incorporated. And then along those lines, Eileen said she was going to bring an update back to us at a future meeting on, you know, and as to where the thinking is going, what the status is on the City Dock itself, or the Susan Campbell Park City Dock. But that also that the parking garage, they're up to the third deck, and they seem to be right on schedule, going gangbusters, with the exception of lead time for an elevator. Apparently, is the driving schedule pickup right now is just being able to get an elevator, and they're thinking they may even have to do a soft opening with no elevator until they get the elevator in. But at least it sounds like that's the projected completion date is June of next year, not very long away.
That's just great.
Which would be amazing. I mean, you can see the tower crane going round and around almost every day. And they're up, but surprisingly, you don't see that many concrete trucks or things, you know, really up and down the street. I've been very surprised at the, I'll call it low impact of large vehicles, or at least for what I've seen. But anyway, that's on track. Last but not least, our December meeting venue. We've falling into the tradition of Duncan being our host. Duncan, thank you. Let me know if that doesn't work, but otherwise.
It does work, and I would look forward to having all of you over there and walking around Port Annapolis.
Okay. What will, as we know, we typically meet in person at off-site, off-city property for a little holiday get together. It's not really a big mandatory, and Kimberly, we'd certainly love to have you join us. If you can't, I understand, and we'll take some very nominal notes because there won't be a whole lot on the agenda for it. And same thing, Stephen, same thing, Eric, same thing, Beth, to stop in. It's in the clubhouse there, and we'll have information on directions and things like that. So with that,
What's that date again? Is that going to be the 20th?
I have it as the 20th, yeah.
Well, that brings up another question. Where do we think we might want to do it the week before?
It's okay with me.
I mean, it's not like we need city facility or you know, City of Annapolis TV, and that would keep it off the week of Christmas. So maybe, is there a consensus to go for the 13th instead of the 20th? I see heads nodding. Okay, so
I'll move for that.
Yep. All right. We'll just I'll get the agenda.
That works for me. Thank
I'll
you.
get the agenda such as it will be out early, so that everybody knows that the meeting, to note the meeting date has changed. And we'll plan on the 13th, because that works for me also. So, all right, with that, is there anybody have anything else they just want to bring up informationally? All right, is there a motion to adjourn at a very early hour? My God.
Yes.
Duncan, yes. Andy, second. All in favor?
Bye.
Safe, Andy, safe travels, Andy.
Thank you.
And let us know if you can call in on not on the 13th, but on the January, going forward. Same thing with you, Peter.
Let's all have a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I'll be there I'll be there in December. Andy should just have to join us virtually.
Well, that's good.
We'll make it now.
Or the two of you can sit on the same boat in the Bahamas.
Oh, you're
Right.
killing me. You're killing me.
I don't know if I told you all, but we talked to Andy leaving the Bahamas last spring. I was on with Tom Schubert on Azura, and we heard him come up on the radio, and Tom had a nice chat with him as we were both headed north out of the Bahamas, just coincidentally.
Excellent.